Well, we're talking about how to make performance reviews beneficial for both employers and employees this morning. And joining me once again to share her expertise is Kim Huggins, CEO of HR Solutions in Harleysville. So, Kim, good morning.
Good morning.
So we're talking about making these performance reviews painless and beneficial. They don't have to be scary, as you talked to us before. And you said they should happen a couple of times a year, but I know that you did a study that proved we really want feedback more often than just a couple of times a year, right?
Right. So a really good leader will not only follow the formal process, but will know their employees well enough to know when they would like to receive feedback. So we did a study last year on the 4 generations in the workplace, and one of the questions we asked them was, how frequently do you want to receive feedback from your boss? So employees that were more mature and further along in their career, traditionalists and baby boomers, said once a month was good with them. Gen Xers, who are more in their 30s and early 40s, said, well, once a month or even bi-weekly. And then Gen Ys, who are your 20-something employees, they said they wanted to receive feedback even more frequently than that, weekly, and some even saying daily, which makes sense since they're newer in their career and need some more and some additional coaching.
Sure. So sometimes some less formal feedback. Feedback in general is important.
Right.
Okay, great. And so let's talk about some tips for employees when it comes to these formal performance reviews. And the first tip is kind of similar to what we were talking about with our managers, is to be prepared and be ready to provide input.
Yes, a lot of times what I see happen is employees just rely on their manager to drive the conversation. And I always tell employees it's really important for you to prepare too. This is an important component of your career development.
Sure.
So be prepared for the discussion, take the initiative, send your manager a list of what you've accomplished in the past year, or sit down and think about some questions or some information that you want to get out of the conversation.
Okay, and I know that you say this isn't time to take a little break from work and zone off or daydream.
Right, we really want them
important.
to be actively engaged. As we said earlier, it's a two-way conversation, so they need to be prepared to ask questions and tell their manager what they need from them.
And you said it's important to listen actively, but it's also important to be interactive.
Right.
So really, the two-way conversation again.
Yeah, the body language, practice active listening.
Okay, and just lastly, another similar step is to agree on those next steps. Be involved in that process as well, right?
Right, and if your manager doesn't suggest it, then you should. Take the initiative, be proactive. Everyone is so busy these days that we could all use a little extra help.
Sure.
So if your manager forgets to talk about next steps or set up that follow-up meeting, as the employee, it's okay to do so.
So where do you find, Kim, that most employees go wrong in this process?
I think the one thing is a lot of times they just leave it up to their manager and they don't do any preparation going into the meeting, and then they're disappointed coming out because they're left with a lot of unanswered questions that can later cause confusion.
Okay, great. And just so in conclusion, tell us what you've seen from the work that you've done with your clients. If you follow these steps, how will it affect business or productivity?
Right. Well, most of my clients have a performance management process. The pitfall I see is that they don't utilize it on a consistent basis. Now, companies that do, who take it seriously, who value strong leadership and provide some training for managers and employees on giving and receiving feedback, can really see some positive business results, because ultimately they'll have a more aligned, productive, and engaged workforce. And that's what they all want.
Great. And lastly, if managers or business owners are watching thinking, oh boy, my performance review procedures could use a little tweaking, people can call you for some advice or recommendations. That's what you do, right?
Yes, absolutely. You can visit my website, which is khrsolutions.com.
Great, Kim. Thanks so much for sharing such great tips with us this morning.
Eve, thanks for having me.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here, and stay with us. We're coming right back.